Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We're live. Okay, now I got to spread the link. What'd you get up to today?
I worked for a bit, and then it's my buddy Gene's birthday. Happy birthday, Gene. He watches sometimes. I went and met up with him for coffee and gave him a couple commissions of his that I had done for him, and slid him a Rick and Morty page for his birthday.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know,
a nice little walk. That was about it.
Ibrahim messaged me this morning and told me happy birthday.
It's your birthday?
Yeah, my birthday is July 6th. So he got it confused. He was like, "Oh, so hey, is your birthday today?" I'm like, "Oh, no, next month." I was like, "Damn, that was very close, but just slightly off."
I thought I missed it. Damn. Okay.
No.
Next month, July 6th. That's right. That's why July is your favorite month. That and 4th of July. We were talking about that.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite month. I said we were saying like what's a great week for movies, and I was like, well, I like that one because it's 4th of July, and I get to pick a movie my birthday.
Yeah, makes sense.
4th of July, we watch Jaws, and I watch King Kong. Shout out to my guy.
That's a great summer double feature. Can't really top that. Yeah, I was typing.
Yeah, I had to post this link up. Blue Sky. Now I'm gonna go over my favorite site, Twitter. Round of applause for Twitter.
That's where it all went down this week, huh?
Yep.
Still the everything app.
You weren't there. You were fucking missing it, dude.
Did I feel like the day Trump got COVID all over again?
Yeah. There's lots of. What was great too is I felt like it because it was sort of one of these ones that was loading, like everybody knew the shit was about to pop off, and it was like extra funny, because it was like, here we go, here's what we all thought was going to happen. It's finally happening. But yeah, we were talking about a little bit before the show. We were talking about the Pablo Torre investigates thing. I really like that show. Like like I mentioned, I've been listening to it when I've been like walking and stuff. But I felt like that new episode with the basketball and like, oh, was it all a big work? Like the 1998 finals? I thought that was so silly.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I was just like, it's kind of like embarrassed me a little bit because I'm like, dude, this dude's doing real good shit. Like that's a good show. And then I hear that episode and I'm like, oh god, he has all this fucking goof going on there, being like, so pro wrestling is like a silent movie. I was like, oh my gosh, shut the fuck up, bro.
Yeah, it was kind of farcical or frivolous. It didn't seem like much of a story.
First of all, welcome everybody to a new episode of New Cool Meat Podcast. This is number. Oops, meant to do this one. This is a new episode. Episode 28, I think 29. We're almost at number 30.
Dang.
This is the best comics podcast where we don't talk about comics. Comics are lame. Comics are stupid. Comics are out. And we don't talk about politics because same shit. Out, lame, we're over it. What we talk about is cool shit. We talk about shit that dudes are fucking with. We talk about sports. Talk about Jelly Roll. We're talking about like just dude stuff, bro. Extreme sports. Regular sports, we talk about dirt bikes sometimes,
Talk about women's fashion.
Sometimes we gotta talk about women's fashion because women's fashion is extreme. Dudes are into fashion now. It used to be in like the 2000s and the 90s and stuff. If you were into fashion, you were a dork. But now if you're not into fashion, like you don't know what's going on out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look like a dork if you don't understand like at least a little bit of like, oh, am I wearing cool sneakers? Am I wearing cool sunglasses? You know, like these are the sunglasses I have. I got a little bit roasted for them the other day by our friend Skinner. He was saying I was looking lame, but I think I look cool as fuck in these glasses, dude. I should take off my hat though. If I'm gonna, I feel like it completes the look if I got the hat off with the glasses on. With the hat on, it just looks like I'm doing too much.
Well, how much shade do you need at that point? You know, it's like,
That's exactly right.
how
I
cold
feel
do you
like,
think you are?
yeah, these are vintage Oakleys. I got
Are they
these.
for real Oakleys?
What's that?
They're for
Yeah,
real
they are.
Oakleys.
They were my stepdad's old Oakleys. I got them from him. They were like his, you know, his beaters, and I was like, let me have these.
Mhm.
Adam says, talk about chips. That's old news. We're talking about beef today, dude. Chips are out. That's the side course. Today we're talking about nothing but beef, baby.
Grade A protein.
You could call us the Beef Bros. You don't have to, but you could if you wanted to.
If you wanted to. Both beefy dudes.
Yeah. Shout out to the Beef Bros, which
There
is
you go,
us,
Beef
by the
Bros.
way. Nothing else. So yeah, we were talking a little bit about the Pablo Torre thing. It was crazy. It was a wild week for beefs. You know what I mean? For
Mhm.
spicy drama. We thought like 2 weeks ago when I got into that little skirmish that was going to be peak beef season. Beak season. Dude, beak season when we get our beaks wet. Shout out to us getting money. No, but we were talking about the Pablo Torres thing because he had an episode where he came out with a guest and the guest wanted to present this case. Our boy Para says skirmish, not squirmish. Yeah. Did I say it wrong?
Roll the
Adam
tape.
says, this is why I need to tune in. Someone needs to tell me chips are out and beef is in. That's exactly right. If you're eating chips, you're eating the wrong thing. It's all about beef. It's
Now,
all about
also,
beef.
Beyond Beef
I
is
said
included.
squirmish. Bro, you said squirmish. They're laughing at you.
Me?
No, can you hear the sound effects?
Yeah, I hear them.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure. Sometimes I play them and I don't know if they're actually going through.
Yeah.
Can you hear this one? What does it sound like they're doing?
Booing.
That's right.
Is that for Para?
That was for Para for trying to throw dirt on my name. So, yeah, so Pablo Torre, he has this new podcast where his guest comes on to say that the 1998 The Last Dance Utah Jazz Chicago Bulls finals were like there should be an asterisk over them. It was an annoying podcast too. Because we were talking about it a little bit, and they do something super fucking annoying, which is like they try to explain wrestling to people who don't like or understand wrestling. And whenever they do that, they do this thing where they have to be like, actually, wrestling is really smart. Actually, wrestling, like you have to like, you have to, if you get it, then you get it. But you know what I mean? Like they try to intellectualize it, and it's not that complicated. Wrestling is cool because it's about dudes hitting each other. That's it. There's no deeper meaning. It's not like the modern day vaudeville. It's not like a movie. It's just dudes beating the shit out of each other for real. And I feel like too many people try to say like they try to justify this thing that they like, which they think is a little stupid. And then what happens is there's this ironic detachment that happens where it's like you're ashamed that you like something that you don't think you should like. So now you have to create these barriers of justification by over intellectualizing it. So when this guy who claims to be a wrestling fan goes on Pablo Torre's podcast, Pablo Torre is winning journalism awards, you know, he's doing big things in the world. He wants to present this cockamamie theory that Karl Malone wasn't locked in. Before he can even do that, he has to be like, oh, and yeah, by the way, even though I like wrestling, I'm not a dumb hick. which you don't have to say. You know what I mean? Like when you were little, you were watching wrestling. Did you get made fun of for it ever?
No, no.
Yeah, I remember me and my boy Jose. We were watching wrestling all the time, and this dude named Babo, who I think I mentioned on the show before. I think I might have mentioned Babo as this little worm motherfucker that would hang around us sometimes. But Babo would be like, we talk about wrestling. He'd be like, "You guys know wrestling is lame. It's fake. You guys won't even like it within 3 years." And we said, "Go fuck yourself. We'll forever love wrestling because wrestling is fucking cool." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And cut to earlier this year, me and my boy Jose were at fucking AEW watching great quality pro wrestling live in person with his daughter, who was like our age when we were watching wrestling. You know what I mean? This shit don't change. It's still cool it's still cool today as it was fucking 50, 60, 70 years ago when I was young and I was coming up in the world.
I will say TK did save it. It was going down a dark path.
What do you mean?
When there was a heavy monopoly.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? The fact that the WWE was crushing the business and crushing the indies out.
What does that have to do with what I was just talking about?
We're just talking about wrestling being cool, man. I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, that's what I just need the context. That's all.
Yeah, I'm just feeding off of you, man.
Well, like, yeah. But I was just saying the reason I asked how that had to do with it because I just didn't hear the context at first.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's cooler now than it's been in a while. It's back.
I feel like wrestling is not cool when it's like very corporate and when people are doing things to try to justify its coolness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But what I really hate is this idea. Like when he got on the show, he kept saying this phrase, which every time I hear it, it just like fucking it riles me up like on a deep level. Because like when I grew up watching wrestling, I was watching with my grandpa in his in his room. He wasn't like giving me a little nod like, oh, they're all play acting or whatever. You know what I mean? I remember when like the earliest matches that I gave a fuck about were like Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio, and I was livid when Malenko was fucking up Rey Mysterio every time they would fight. I'd be like, yo, one of these days my boy Rey's gonna fuck him up, dude, because I thought this shit was real. I thought this shit mattered, and like. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, you're a rube for believing it. It's like if you go to a movie and you always just go like, yeah, oh, I know they're just playing up there. No, you have to like you have to give yourself the
suspension of disbelief.
There it is. The suspension of disbelief and just play along. You know what I mean? I go to NFL games. I know that shit's rigged. And yet I go and I clap.
I watch that.
I applaud. I say, go Brock Purdy, who I know the NFL is going to fuck over. You know what I'm saying? Did I have to put the glass on? I feel like it's a hard look. But yeah, no. So like, whenever they say like everything is wrestling, I remember the one that really got me was when this fucking guy Max Landis put out this little video where it was like, wrestling is not wrestling or something. And the whole premise of that video was like Triple H, he's the greatest wrestler of all time. Even though he's not a good wrestler, like in the ring, he has great stories because of the stuff outside of wrestling, which I've always hated that video. I've always thought that was fucking stupid, like to start. But then I've always hated like that idea caught on that like people could enjoy wrestling independent of the matches, which is the whole point.
Yeah. The stories are told in the ring, all the other stuff is just building to that.
Exactly. Like when people complain about the build to a match, like I think your boy Steve Orlando one time, who's shout out to Steve Orlando. I think it was him. He came up to me at one time at a con and we were talking about wrestling because he's a kind of a fan, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he knew I was. And we were talking about like Roman Reigns, and I was like, I fuck with Roman Reigns heavy because he's the man. This was like when it was cool to hate on Roman Reigns, but that's
when they were pushing him as a babyface back in the.
I stand 10 toes down as being a Roman Reigns supporter because he's big as fuck, moves fast as shit, punches hard.
He's got cool hair.
Spear, cool look. Everything about him is badass. And I remember he was going like, yeah, I don't like the way they book him. And I remember I had to be like, bro, that does not matter in the slightest bit to me. What he does in the ropes is what matters, you know? But I've always been sort of like a little bit on an island on that, you know what I mean? Like the promos and all that stuff, that's cool. But if you're like a little, you know, if the matches aren't good, then what is the point? You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I do think that affects the way I enjoy the show as a whole. Like if it's booked horribly and it doesn't make sense and a lot of run-ins and, you know, a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
That's definitely like, I don't care how good the in-ring people are. That's why I can't watch WWE. It's not because of wrestlers, because they're all super talented. It's just, I don't like the way they put it out there, you know?
Yeah. But the idea though, like everything is wrestling, I feel like it's sort of permeated like 2025, like the last few years, like really since the Trump rise and like, you know, Trump is so tied to WWE and the sort of the weird like dumbing down of the culture, which we kind of talked about last week with like the sort of dude bro culture and stuff. And there's this idea that like the culture sort of is following along the wavelengths of pro wrestling, and like the way to win in the culture, like in politics, is to be louder, be more brash, be more fucking like arrogant and stuff. And you know, on some level, that's definitely true. But on the other hand, it's like it's not like that's not what I like about pro wrestling. So I always hate it because it's like the idea that like everything is sports entertainment, that might be true, right? But it's not wrestling, because nobody like you know, we're going to talk about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Like that was the big squirmish this week, and I said it squirmish that time, so maybe I did say it before. but the that was the big skirmish this week, and I kept hearing people go, "Oh, this is just like it's like a pro wrestling thing," and I'm like, "This is not pro wrestling because these motherfuckers ain't gonna fight." And it's not pro wrestling unless I see somebody get fucking hit. That's it. You know what I mean? Sophie said, "LOL, squirmish." Shut the fuck up.
You really did say that. Squirmish.
Well, this I said it the second time because it was implanted in my head. So let's talk about Trump and Elon Musk. Now that now we got out of the way that this is not pro wrestling. This is real life beef. This is like more like a rap battle. So I have an article here about the spectacular end of Elon Musk and Donald Trump's bromance. This is from our favorite news source, Yahoo News.
Most trusted
name. The only site that I trust. What's that?
The most trusted name.
That's right. So this article goes, during a press conference in the Oval Office last week, President Trump praised Elon Musk, his advisor, and the outgoing head of the president's Department of Government Efficiency for waging war on the federal workforce. Elon has worked tirelessly to lead the most sweeping and consequential government reform programs in generation, Trump said alongside Musk, who wore a black Doge hat and Doge Father t-shirt while sitting next to the president. How do you feel about Musk always trying to get himself over in the middle of these little things?
He's going to business for himself.
Always. That's all he ever does, bro. He's a goblin. For nearly an hour, Trump heaped effusive praise on the billionaire Tesla chief, executive SpaceX founder, and owner of X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, whose stint as special government employee had come to an end. Elon's really not leaving, the president added. He's going to be back and forth, I think. What a difference a week makes. Trump and Musk's unlikely bromance unraveled in spectacular fashion on Thursday, with the president telling reporters in the Oval Office that he was, quote, very disappointed with Musk's criticism of his, quote, big, beautiful spending bill, and Musk railing on Trump in real time on X. So that's the little background.
While he's banging rails, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was tweaking at that event. Oh, that was the one where he was all like,
where he had the black eye and he was all fucking doing that's that
crazy as
K-hole
fuck.
shit, dude. I've been in a K-hole before. That's what
I was
that's
gonna
like.
say, this is one
Mhm.
of your drug things that you've experienced firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually overdosed on ketamine
Dang.
once. Yeah, I was on all kinds of other shit, and then the ketamine just pushed me over the edge.
So
Um,
if you're Elon Musk and he has to have better access to like ketamine than you did, right?
oh yeah, for
He's
sure.
got to
I
be
mean,
comfortable on ketamine. Like, what is the
my
qualitative difference in
I
what
don't know,
he
but
was
this was
doing?
in like 1996, and the ketamine was
We,
from like my friend's girlfriend who worked at a veterinary hospital, and she was just taken out of the back of the veterinary hospital.
I didn't even
Yeah.
know that. Like, that's what is the purpose of ketamine to begin with?
So I think it's like a horse tranquilizer.
Is it really?
I think so.
That's it. That's fascinating to me.
And
I
it would
didn't
come in vials, and then they would cook it in the oven to crystallize it, so you could chop it up and snort it.
know.
Mhm.
Oh shit! New York Times. What to know about the effects of ketamine? Little image of Elon Musk. Oh, a Vox explainer. Elon's favorite drug explained. This is
There you
exactly
go.
what I'm a Vox guy, dude. Ketamine seems to be everywhere, from nightclubs to the psychiatric clinic. Among its growing number of users is Elon Musk, who says he takes ketamine every 2 weeks for depression, as prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah.
Does he go to a vet? Oh wait, I should. Because he's a bitch. But the New York Times reported recently that Musk was taking so much ketamine during last year's presidential campaign, sometimes daily, that he reportedly told people it was causing him bladder problems. What? You ever shit yourself because you were a K-hole?
No, no, I did throw up blood all over myself when I passed out.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah, it was nasty. I woke up in a bathtub. My friends were all standing over me trying to wake me up. It was not good.
When I was a kid, my mom showed me Pulp Fiction, just the scene where Mia accidentally does the
Yeah,
heroin. That
yeah.
like she woke me up out of bed. She said, "Come here, you got to see this." I walked over and I watched just that like 4 minutes of Pulp Fiction, and I never did a drug in my entire life. Because why would I? If I've seen the direct effects of what can happen, that could be me on Eric Stoltz's floor. You know what I
Thank you,
mean?
Quentin Tarantino. If it wasn't for him.
Big shout out, Quentin. But the New York Times reported recently that Musk was taking so much ketamine during last year's presidential campaign, sometimes daily, that he told people it was causing him bladder problems, a known symptom of the chronic ketamine use. Musk's reported experience with the drug, from medical to possibly abusive, provides a window into ketamine's growing popularity in the U.S. and the paradox that its popularity presents. Ketamine, both an anesthetic and hallucinogenic, was first synthesized in the 1960s. That's when, of course, the Beatles came to America. I want to hold your hand, you know?
Yeah,
She loves you, yeah.
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 All that stuff.
One of
Just
my
in
favorite
charts.
bands.
Old peon Musk. He's peeing on himself.
So it came promised in the 60s, has been used for surgery and veterinary medicine. More recently, it has shown remarkable effectiveness in alleviating symptoms of depression, particularly in treatment. I wonder how he can be depressed when he's that rich. He has that many beautiful children who all keep in contact with him regularly. He has a nation of people who love him. He has, thriving companies, none of which are going completely under.
Yeah.
He has the world. This is the man who has everything.
He's a world champion gamer.
He's a
Epic.
great gamer.
Yep. I don't know. Can't fill that hole in his heart.
Sophie says, I know that ketamine is a horse tranquilizer because of that scene in Armageddon. Never seen it. Can't stand Nick Cage's skull.
He's not in it. The
Oh,
Cage
you're
isn't
right.
in it.
I never, I was never a big Bruce Willis guy either.
When I get down the couch.
Not skull shape, just in general, I was not a big fan. But I always confuse Armageddon with The Rock. Because they're both, what's his face?
Michael Bay.
Yeah. Sophie says, but you like Michael Bay. That's only a recent occurrence. I used to hate Michael Bay because I'm a real film guy who grew up watching Quentin Tarantino. Why would I watch Michael Bay if I know real cinema like Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, Robert Rodriguez, etc., etc.? So, anyways, let's go back. We get it. He's on drugs. He's a dopey. He's a dopey freak. Trump said. So what did Trump say? I'm very disappointed in Elon, Trump said before a bilateral meeting with the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. I've helped Elon a lot. The president suggested that Musk, like many others before him, had become hostile upon leaving his administration. I'll be honest, I think he misses the place, Trump said. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point, they miss it so badly, and then some of them embrace it, and some of them become actively hostile. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour is gone. The president added, dude, I woke up in the morning and the glamour was gone, bro. Maria May, she's out in NXT, and I know what it's like if I'm Elon Musk. Sad, depressed. I have to watch her go out on TV. She doesn't even have a name no more.
No,
she's
diminished already.
Woman. We loved her.
Yep.
And she abandoned
left us. Can't trust a pretty face.
Yep, that's true. That's always been true. So Trump also suggested that Musk was upset that the Republican-backed reconciliation bill did not include an electric vehicle mandate, which would have benefited EV manufacturers, including Tesla. He knew the inner workings of the bill better than anyone sitting here. Probably doubt that. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out we were going to cut the EV mandate.
Yeah, that's why he would have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'd have I would have a big problem with that if I make electric cars and you're like, no more electric cars.
Yeah, and I gave you like $300 million to get you where you are.
What did he think the money was for? Because he likes you? He wanted you to help him get rich. Cutting EV mandates would do the opposite of that. This would be like, oh, it's like pro wrestling. No. It's not like pro wrestling at all. This is like him taking money from the man and laughing in his face.
I mean, Trump is a piece of shit and I hate him, but it's also hilarious that he did that. But everyone, it's hilarious.
Tesla makes more money selling carbon credits than it does selling cars, which is very true.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if Tesla goes down, and SpaceX is his only money maker, really. And if he loses all his government subsidies, then he's kind of fucked, isn't he?
You forgot about X, where I still post regularly.
I did, yeah.
I'm generating him money. You're welcome.
How many does he send you money yet? Have you got an Elon check yet?
I haven't, because I refuse to get Twitter Blue, which is an L on me.
Yeah, it's kind of like the PPP loan that we never got.
Yep, that was so bullshit. By the way, I thought, okay, well, I don't want to take advantage of this thing that people are going to need, right? I'm a fool. Everybody took advantage of it. You remember that day we were in the chat and we were looking up all these like comic writers with LLCs and some artists too. Like I remember Mitch Garadz. It's like, oh, I can't do cons. Give me 80 grand. And they did it. That's the biggest. I think Mitch is brilliant. I think Mitch is hilarious, because he's found ways to just monetize tracing in ways that I never thought possible. But like the biggest scam was the way he got like 80 grand in government money, or how it wasn't 80 grand. I don't remember. You can look it up though. Whatever it is, it's still available, that information. But like, I remember all these people that we knew were just like scraping up money, and we were thought, oh, let's not take advantage. And what happened? They laughed at us.
Yeah.
We tried to do the honorable thing, and we got fucking boned big time. But that's why we'll never be Elon Musk. And the fact that I've never done ketamine, although you have, so you're probably closer to Elon in that sense than I am.
Yeah, I've traveled around with a briefcase full of drugs before. So
Really?
yeah,
I don't think he does that. I think he probably has people that have the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
somebody does it for him for sure.
He probably's got like a drug guy that carries around his drug. What do
Oh
they
yeah,
call that in the drug world? They have like a name for that, right?
mule.
Like the guy, yeah, or like the guy who carries the drugs, like a
Yeah,
bag man or something.
I mean, he's the guy who's gonna take the fall if something happens and he gets busted.
Yeah, I'm sure he's.
Somebody
I'm
gets
sure if
blooded.
I'm that rich, I have several guys to carry bags
Yeah,
full of ketamine,
it's
whatever
waiting
drugs
for
I
him.
want to take.
Just go. Hey, I'm going to Denver. Just meet me in Denver with all my ketamine.
Yeah, I'm flying you out 2 days in advance. Just make sure that I have my ketamine when I get there.
What a lunatic.
How did Musk respond? False. This bill was never shown to me even once, and it was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. That's what they do, Elon. That's called the government. Whatever, Musk continued. Keep the EV solar incentive cuts. This is nasty cope right here. Whatever. Keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched. Very unfair. But ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. First of all, I love pork. I don't eat it because I don't dig on swine.
Yeah.
I'm doing my slow play into becoming a Muslim, but I don't. I've always thought it was fucked up. They called it pork, like when you have like extra stuff in bills. But listen, that's how they get bills passed. That's called the government.
Yeah.
Why would a senator from the middle of fucking nowhere vote to cut his constituency's benefits, which they will be doing here a lot, if they don't even get like their beak wet? This is beak season.
Yeah.
And you should know that because you're the one getting the tax cuts. You're the rich guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he was wetting the most beaks at one point. I mean,
he had the wettest beak of all time. His beak was dripping. So if you're telling me you can do all that dripping with your beak and a fucking poor, humble pork farmer in the middle of Nebraska, he can't get his beak wet? I don't like that. Get out of here. Pugwub says living La Bica Loca.
It would be crazy if Trump tried to deport him. I know he won't, but that would be amazing.
He says, in the entire history of civilization, there has never been legislation that is both big and beautiful. Everyone knows this, Musk added. Either you get big and ugly bill or a slim and beautiful bill. Slim and beautiful is the way. First of all, don't fat shame the bill. You don't know if the bill's on a weight loss journey. That's nasty. I'm going to cancel you on X. I'm going to cancel you on your own platform if you keep talking about the big, beautiful bill. That's fucked up. People, they go off to certain websites, which I don't like to discuss, and they type in BBB for big, beautiful bill, and that's what they like. Don't shame those people. Musk, who was one of Trump's most fervent and visible supporters during the 2024 campaign, wasn't done. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate, Musk wrote. Such ingratitude. That's hilarious. That's what's giving up the game. Like, I bought this whole thing. Like, what do you like? Why are you fucking with me right now? You know what I mean? It's like he went to Burger King. He got a Whopper. He was like, no onions. They gave him onions, and he was like, the fuck? And they were like, oh, we should have told you. We don't give a fuck. You can't have it your way. You eat what we tell you to eat. That's what we do here at Burger King.
Yeah, you're a burger pawn.
You're a burger puppet, dude. Don't ever. You're a burger popper. Don't ever come in here and start fucking. Just because you paid for the fucking 2 for $6 meal, you get to have. No, Whoppers are our way. We make the Whoppers. Elon was wearing thin. Trump, dude. It's just Trump wasn't done either. Elon was, quote, wearing thin. Trump wrote on True Social. Is that more fat shaming?
Well,
I'm gonna go to
Remember a
East Social.
couple.
I'm gonna
Remember a
go ahead.
couple weeks ago when Trump was saying how I have a business friend, he's really rich, and he takes the fat shot, and he's.
Oh,
Remember that? He was talking about Musk then, right?
he had to be.
Yeah.
I feel like he's constantly fat shaming. I think that they're in one of these weird things where, they're both just fat shaming each other back and forth. It's not pro wrestling. That's
No.
like a feud that would happen at Jenny Craig's. That's like a Weight Watchers feud. That's not WWE for World Wrestling Entertainment. It's for Weight Watchers engaging in,
I mean,
verbal sparring.
to be fair, the WWE product that's out there now, that would probably be on there. That's the booking level right now.
Listen,
Remember when
guys,
Sheamus came back fat? When Sheamus came back overweight and they were making fun of him?
he was on a weight loss journey. Don't fat shame. We don't do that.
I wasn't. It was your boy Drew McIntyre.
Okay. Because I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. The easiest way to save in our budget billions and billions of dollars is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts, Trump added. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. I love it because if Biden would have done it, he would have been like, put this man in the fucking mental hospital.
Yeah. Why are you doing this to poor Elon? He's an American hero.
Why are you doing this to poor Elon? Both of you guys have trouble with your bowels. You know what I mean?
Peon.
Neither of you motherfuckers can shit properly right now, so why are you going crazy? By the way, prayers up for Joe Biden. We surely hope everything goes very, very well with that situation over there, Biden. This isn't me sort of doing a reverse jinx. I would never do that. Anyways, Musk tried to get the last word in, suggesting. Oh, and here's where he went crazy. Musk tried to get the last word in, suggesting that Trump's name is in unreleased FBI files on Jeffrey Epstein. Why would you say that about your boy?
Why? So that means you were working with a pedophile that you knew about. You were giving him money the whole time, knowing that he was on Jeffrey Epstein's list.
Listen, I'm not going to lie and pretend like I wasn't at one point associated with somebody who did some nasty stuff. You know what happened when the time came that I found out about this? I threw him under the bus.
Surprised me, yeah. What you did?
I said, there he is. I pointed my finger. Now, some people say that's wrong. Some people say, oh, you canceled him. I would say he's a freak and he needs to be done away with. That's just that's how I've been. That's how I've always been. Some people like to think like, oh, people do this with like all kinds of guys who get caught doing crazy shit, like Louis C.K. or Chris D'Elia or like these are comedians, but like Diddy, like Kanye loves to do this where they're like, oh, he's being canceled by the woke mob. No, he's being told to go away because he's a dirt freak. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we as a society have to stop letting these freaks tell us that we can't call people freaks when they are doing freak shit.
Yep.
That's just how I feel. That's a conviction that I've always held. And I always will hold. You know what I mean? By the way, go ahead.
I saw on Hot 97 that they're trying to kick Diddy out of the trial. As far as like the judge is trying to get him to stop. He's trying to intimidate the jurors. He's like staring at the jurors and nodding his head and trying to like mean mug him and stuff. And the judge is like, if you don't stop, I'm kicking you out of here. I thought that was pretty funny. I
really need to like lock in with what's going on with Diddy. Every time there's one of these kind of like situations, like with him or Johnny Depp or whatever, I never lock in because I'm like, they're gonna get away because they're rich, they're powerful, they're famous, you know. Yeah. And sometimes maybe they won't.
R. Kelly didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says Musk tried to get the last word in, suggesting that Trump's name is in unreleased FBI files. Time to drop the really big bomb, Musk wrote. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. The real reason they have not been made public. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. So he basically said, I'm a freak, and so is Donald Trump, and he doesn't want to tell you, but he doesn't realize, because he's so in his ketamine shit, he's too deep in the K-hole that he don't realize he's also, when you point one finger, out, except for when I did it earlier, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Obviously, that doesn't apply to me, but other people, they should, if you're a ketamine freak, you should keep that in mind.
It's like he doesn't realize who was president when Epstein got murdered in jail. Donald Trump.
Yeah. On Thursday night, White House press secretary Karoline Leavitt, who, by the way, I can't stand her.
She's horrible.
This ain't a politics podcast, but she has like this annoying little face. She seems like she's a mean girl. No, she's not a mean girl. She's like a dumb girl. You know what I mean? She's not. I feel like she's not mean because she's like doing, sort of like in the movie Mean Girls, like she's a Regina George. It's like no. She's a fucking idiot, and so she's just being like puppeteered along by other actual mean people. But I can't stand her fucking face.
Yeah.
It's just one of the worst. Like every time I see it, I get this like guttural, just like hateful thing going on. Bile rises up.
I'm sure Sophie finds her hot.
Probably. There were hotter press secretaries than her.
Oh yeah, like, Jen, our girl Jen Psaki.
That's a you thing. I've never been a Psaki girl guy.
You're missing out.
You watch her on MSNBC?
No, I don't watch MSNBC.
You're one of many. People. Terrible ratings. They are not drawing like they used to.
Morning Joe's not cutting it no more?
What's that?
Morning Joe's not cutting it no more?
I used to watch Morning Joe, but he fell off. Uncle Bubba says, sack it to me. You were right. Sophie said, love Caroline. That's nasty. She even knew how to spell her name with a K.
Yeah.
Gross. If you would have asked me, like, how do you spell her name? I was like, I have no clue. I hate her fucking face. She added that the president is focused on passing his historic legislation and making our country great again. Yeah, that's all he's ever doing, huh? The split capped a longtime partnership for the pair, with Musk stumping for Trump on the campaign trail, and the president, after installing Musk as the head of Doge, boosting Tesla amid criticism of Musk with an unusual event at the White House. But in the last few months, there have been reports that Trump was privately growing tired of Musk. On May 27th, 3 days after Musk's farewell address, a farewell press conference in the Oval Office, CBS aired a clip that showed him expressing disappointment that Trump's signature spending bill would undermine his Doge work. Then on Tuesday, Musk went full blast on the spending package. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore, he wrote on X. The massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Call your senator, your congresswoman, Musk wrote on Wednesday. He's doing that whole woke thing. But call your senator, call your reps. Guess what, Musk? You're not in the, what did we call it? The resistance. You're not in the resistance.
Yeah.
You can't be part of the blue wave. We hate you. That brought us to Thursday, when Trump was asked about Musk's attacks during his Oval Office meeting with Mers. Elon and I had a great relationship, Trump had told reporters. I don't know if we will anymore. In an interview with Trump on CNN on Friday morning, Trump said he was not even thinking about Musk and would not be speaking to him anytime soon. That's nasty, bro. He hit him with the Don Draper, like, I don't even think of you at all. Like, no. The guy tells Draper, like, I feel bad for you. And then Draper goes, like, I don't feel it, but I don't think about you at all. Classic line. classic show. I'm not even thinking about Elon. He's got a problem. The poorest guy has got a problem, Trump said, adding, I won't be speaking to him for a while, I guess, but I wish him well. So that's where it is. And then in further news, the Russians said that they'll take him in gladly. That's crazy work, bro.
That's crazy.
But the
I always
crazy
thought
thing
Trump
about
would
that
flee to
is like,
Russia.
go ahead.
I always thought Trump would be the one to flee to Russia, not Elon.
I thought, maybe together they do like a sort of,
Oh,
like a sort of, what is that show with Bronson Pinchot show where he's
Perfect
like
Strangers.
a Perfect Strangers vibe, but with
Yeah.
Musk and Trump sort of sharing a room together. What do you think? What do you think Musk should do from here?
Well, I think he should do. I think he should shut up and not tweet anymore. But that's not going to happen. So,
What's his play then? Since not that,
I would say another country is probably looking pretty good right now.
invade
Get out of
another
America.
country.
No, move. Get out of America.
If I were Musk, here's my first play. Impregnate Melania. Can't be that expensive.
Well, he can't because we already know he's got a metal dick that doesn't work. So
no, but he's impregnating women all over the place. He's got sperm banks, and you don't know if Trump is going to like seize those assets, the sperm assets. If I'm Trump, I'm immediately going. You're deported, and I'm sending in the Gestapo to the sperm banks where Musk has his sperm located, and they're breaking the vials on the floor, and it's probably like making little acid marks, like when the when the glass breaks, it's like, what I mean, like sizzles. It's probably doing that shit. His like nasty South African sperm. But if I'm Elon, I'm impregnating Melania. I'm impregnating his daughter, Ivanka. Ivanka, I'm sorry, you have to have another baby. It's Elon's baby now. And I'm naming that shit not Donald. I'm impregnating Laura Loomer, the side chick. She's getting impregnated. You know what I mean? I'm impregnating Hope Hicks just for fun. That one's just some is business, some is pleasure. You know what I mean? And again, this is not sex with these women. This is purely IVF treatments. This is purely transactional. They're getting paid money for it. You know what I'm saying?
I think Melania would do it.
Of course, Melania would do it half out of spite.
Yeah.
And then also because of the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is no reason for her not to, if I'm being honest. What does she stand to lose by like having an Elon Musk child?
Nothing.
Uncle Bubba says, rumor is Elon is impregnating Stephen Miller's wife. Oh, I'm aware.
That was a pretty funny sidebar there. That story.
Yeah.
They show up the black guy, and then all this happens. Like,
if I got punched by Stephen Miller, I'd be so fucking pissed off, dude. You'd find like I'd be in jail if he punched me, because what I would do to him after the punch would send. You know what I mean? It wouldn't just be. But you know what I mean? I'm going on gouging eyes out. I'm ripping out his tongue with my bare hands. You know what I mean?
Smash his skull until it's just nothing on the ground.
It's just I'm smashing it into paste. If you think if you think the pork bill is looking like a lot of processed meat, like pink slime, the pavement will do like that same kind of spending bill, full of pink slime. That's what because he's got those little bony hands. I couldn't take a punch from a guy like that and like be okay with it.
I want to like punch his face until I saw what was inside, just to like.
I'm not like a super like macho. I'll fight this guy, but he looks like a Nosferatu.
Yeah, he's a demon. You have to exterminate him.
Yeah,
like he's not. It's not a human being.
And I get it. Like he's mad because Elon impregnated his wife, and Elon looks like a different kind of demon. So he's thinking his demon child's going to come out looking like one of those little like spindly demons, like a sort of spidery demon, and it comes out looking more like a little mole demon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of demon.
Gotta keep your demon blood pure.
Yeah. I'm impregnating JD Vance's wife. Usha. You know what I mean? I'm doing all that because if I'm Elon Musk and you're now threatening me with, I'm taking away your EV credits. I'm taking away, you know what I mean? I'm going like where the bridges are burned. You know, I've already called you a pedophile.
You're
You
going
know what I mean?
scorched earth. You're
I'm going scorched earth and I'm going spunked earth. Oh no, I meant to do this one.
no, the first one was right. You should boo yourself for that.
No, spunked earth is great. People love spunked earth. I'm looking at the replies here on Yahoo News about this article here, which was a good wrap up, by the way. Shout out to Yahoo News. This is funny because I talked to one of my conservative family members, and like right wing people, they're reacting to this in such a funny way because, like, ideologically, they agree with Elon, but they can't say that because he's not, like, he can be replaced with another evil billionaire, right? Like maybe, or you can't replace him with one, but you can moneyball it and replace him in the aggregate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You get a Bezos in there, you get a Peter Thiel in there, you get some other fucking unknown dudes.
Zuckerberg in there.
Yeah, Zuckerberg
They're
in there.
already all sniffing around. They're all willing to do it, but they're like, let Elon burn his money.
Yeah. He's weaker for it.
They're accomplishing the same goal. They're just, letting him they're using him like a human shield. Like, we get the same things. It's just you can attack this big freak.
Yeah. Because he's too stupid to realize that he should have just not been in the public eye.
He's too much of a K-hole freak, bro.
Yeah.
So like, so he's fucking his whole shit up. And then now he has no choice but to impregnate all these women. That's my opinion.
No choice? Elon, there's no other option?
If I'm Elon, I'm going with the turkey baster tomorrow, knocking on every door. Yeah, I need to impregnate you. How much do you need? How many millions do I have to give you to make this happen? Because this is no longer about this is about masculinity. Elon has to prove he's not a beta. And how do you do that?
Get girls pregnant.
You get this guy's wife and daughter and associates pregnant. That way, everywhere he looks, he just sees a little freak face staring back at him like Elon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see the vision, yeah.
That's why I'm saying you have to get everywhere. Like, you can't kick Elon Musk out of the White House. Elon Musk has just created a whole new generation to rise up in his wake.
Like Knights of the Batman at the end of Dark Knight Returns.
That's right.
He just trains them in the sewers.
And you know what? He's ready for it. He's been ready for this war. So, in the Trump versus Elon war, if Elon does the right thing and starts hyper charging the pregnancy, if he starts doing the Clone Wars tomorrow, I'm back in Elon. But if he betas out and he lets Trump just push him around, then I'm back in Trump.
Well, I saw already today there was someone tweeted at him, some user with 200 followers on Twitter said, "You guys are better than this. You should chill out and take time off and just collect your thoughts." And Elon's like, "That's a good idea. I also won't discontinue the Dragon program."
Beta.
Yeah. Beta.
Oh wait, I'm in beta. But yeah, they're all talking about it like, oh, they're friends. Like, my conservative family member said, like, well, sometimes it was funny. He was going like, well, they're both like, Elon said some things that were a little bit right, and I was like, he called Trump a pedophile. He was a little bit right. How are you a little bit right about that? But then he was like, yeah, but I hope sometimes people say things in the heat of the moment that they don't mean. If I say that, I mean that.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing those words around loosey goosey.
You know what said a lot too, with all that money he gave him. That said a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that's what said the most to me.
So that was probably the second biggest battle of the week. You know what the first one was?
Pablo Torre and Bill Simmons.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about that. You know, because it's like nobody else is going to care about this. Our viewers are already plummeting, but but it matters to us because we are both big Bill Simmons heads. Now we don't like Bill Simmons, but we both watch Bill Simmons.
Yeah, we hate watch Bill Simmons.
Yeah, he's an inspiration. He's the podfather. But for
really
people who don't know who Bill Simmons is, can you give them like a little bit of a primer?
He's the Boston sports guy. He's the kingpin of the Ringer, formerly Grantland.
Okay,
started off as
yeah, it's like
he started off as the Boston sports guy. He was doing independent journalism at a blog, and it took off right around the time when the internet was really starting to boom, and people were starting to get their news from other sources, and he kind of just was the figurehead or the at the forefront of all that, and he turned all that into this empire that he has now.
Yeah, he's like there are guys who were like so lucky to be like dorks at the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's one of them. Like Elon's another one, by the way. But he was one of them, and he was like a dork who wrote a blog, and then like Tony said, he like it got bought out by ESPN, and then when at ESPN he was like the young rebel. He was the guy.
Yeah, he was the cool guy.
Didn't care. He didn't do things the old-fashioned way. He would talk about betting, which they never did back then. You know, he would talk a little bit about the lines, and then he left ESPN. Like you said, he launched Grantland, which was like an alternative to ESPN that was for like people who were like cool and with it and read articles on the internet.
Yeah, and then the pop culture stuff too. They were covering like movies and
pop culture stuff. And then ESPN was like, enough of this. We don't want this guy. He's a dork. He's gone. Like he didn't fit the culture of ESPN. So then because he was so popular, so relevant, he was able to parlay that into making a fuck ton of money running his own like article farm website, you know, called The Ringer, which has some horrible, horrible writers on there who I despise. So I read it all the time. There's this guy named Steven Ruiz who like ranks the quarterbacks. He's got to be the dumbest motherfucker on the internet. So I mean, that's just what's that?
He's up there. He's up there with Ben Solak, who's another Ringer alumni. I don't think he's there anymore.
Pencil neck geek. Another motherfucker who does not know ball.
Kevin O'Connor, another fucking dope.
Yeah, but he's not there anymore. He's at Yahoo News, which we love.
Another Musk head, by the way, Kevin O'Connor. Huge Elon
Musk guy. That was so funny. I saw people post like a thing with like Kevin O'Connor today, and it was like a burning MAGA hat. like as if like you know, like he had to pick the side, and he was obviously going to pick Musk's side, which he would, you know.
Yeah.
But Bill Simmons is so interesting because to me, like, so he had this debate with Pablo Torre. Pablo Torre is like he went to Harvard. He's on an MSNBC now. He started out doing ESPN stuff too. He was a fact checker for ESPN, the website, and then worked his way up, became on-camera talent, but always wanted to like not be just a sports guy. Like Bill Simmons is literally the sports guy. Pablo always had sort of ambitions of being like a real journalist, of winning a Peabody Award, which he got nominated for, of like doing things that mattered and not just being like, oh, who do you think's going to win this weekend? What do you think about the Pacers' big comeback? You know what I mean? So like he did this 2-part episode of his podcast where he talked about an 80-year-old ex-football coach fucking and dating a 19-year-old, now 22-year-old girl.
24. She's 24.
Yeah.
And he's like 78 or something, 75, something like that.
And they're great episodes. Even though beginning of the show I was kind of shitting on Pablo, They're great episodes because it's like Pablo goes to these extreme lengths, which, by the way, they're not that extreme. I went through more extreme lengths to find out less, if I'm being honest. I should have went to school for journalism.
You'd probably be good at it.
Which Pablo did not do, by the way. He went to school for like law, and then he freaked out. They talk about it on the podcast, right? On the Bill Simmons thing. Like he went to school to become a lawyer, and then he had a panic attack and was like, I can't pass the bar. So then the LSAT or whatever the fuck, like some law thing. And then he went, okay, well then I'll just become a sports guy because that's easy.
That was also funny too, because Simmons was like, you had a panic attack. What does that mean? He's like, yeah, I'm sure you really had panic. You know what that means because you had panic attacks at Holy Cross playing like fucking beer pong or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I went to Harvard. I was studying law. I wasn't like.
It's an interesting cultural divide there, where like Pablo Torre, like, is from like an Asian family. Granted, they're Filipinos, so not like true Asian. Shout out to Filipinos. I fuck with Filipinos heavy. I only say that because me and Filipinos are like this, bro. I got so many Filipino friends. Filipinos are all over Stockton. Filipinos work the fields with Mexicans, so I get to make Filipino jokes. It is what it is. But they're not known for their like high education. Let's just put it that way. It's so fucked up. But Pablo kind of imagines himself to be one of the Asians that are good at school. So fucking dope.
I had nothing to say to that.
Yeah. It's like, if this wasn't live, that'd be edited out. No. Shout out to Filipinos. They're so fucking sick.
I love them. Eric Spolstra, my man.
Dude, just Filipinos were like my mentor in comics, my boy Tony De Zuniga. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, shout out to my Pinoys. Shout out to my guy Cam Del Rosario. Anyways, Pablo's the man. He went to Harvard, and he started this whole podcast now that he left ESPN, where he does real investigation about these things, and he's looking into this story, which is fascinating and should be listened to. But he was also like, he got nominated for a Peabody actually for like a story about transgender athletes. So like he does real work, and then he does these side missions to like get views, right? And the problem with his story about Bill Belichick, this football coach, and this 19-year-old girl that he hooked up with, is that guy was the coach of Bill Simmons' favorite team, the New England Patriots. So Bill had a very freakish reaction to the story.
Yeah, very defensive, very, very protective. Also, I might say he's an aging millionaire who, like, someday, in my mind, it's like he doesn't, the age gap thing isn't a problem for him, so he doesn't.
He's happily married, though.
So yeah, I'm sure he is. But, you never know.
So this says, it all started when the Ringer founder, Bill Simmons, discussed former ESPN personality and Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast host Pablo Torre's recent deep dive into the romance of Hudson, now 23, and Bill Belichick, now 73. 50 years age gap, by the way.
My entire lifetime.
That's crazy as hell, dude.
Yeah.
And so Bill said, I've never seen anybody dine on a stupider story for a week and a half while pretending you're a journalist. Pretending you're a journalist? What the fuck was that? Seriously. Bill continued, Belichick's dating a girl. Oh, let me do 9 shows about it. Settle the fuck down. He went hard. He was like, I'm tired of you dissing my boy. I'm sick of this. So Torre, 39, released his first investigation podcast about Hudson and Belichick on May 9th, which examined the origins of the couple's relationship, blah, 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 kind of stuff we already talked about. Simmons' criticism seemed mostly to center on Torre's appearances on programs like Dan Patrick's show, podcasts like Pardon My Take, where the journalist discussed his reporting on Hudson and Belichick. You don't need to do a media tour about a fucking podcast, Simmons said. Torre eventually caught wind of Simmons' comments and offered his rebuttal on Monday, June 2nd. Dear Bill Simmons, he added him, by the way. Dear at Bill Simmons. I love that. I love when somebody say, you know what, motherfucker? I'm talking to you, not on a podcast, beaming it out into people who aren't you. I'm talking to you. Since you have such strong opinion about my work, I happen to have a few questions about you for you specifically. Unless you're afraid of Pablo finds out and someone is just pretending to be a journalist, of course. Thanks, Pablo. And then this beef culminated when they went on the show, and it was really funny because like Pablo basically said, "You're a weirdo. You didn't even listen to the podcast that I did about this guy. And the reason I went on to other people to talk about it is because I was getting aggregated anyways," which is true. Like everybody was talking about this story, and it's like, well, why not just go talk about it to people who are interested in the story? That makes more sense than just being like, I let people talk about your thing while you just not get any clout off of it. That's why you do the reporting, is to get people to read your reporting and to listen to what you have to say on it. Mm-hmm. But so they had this meeting, and then Bill basically backed down immediately, kind of went beta mode, right?
Yeah, he capitulated as soon as Pablo kind of raised his points and brought up all his salient points. Bill's like, "Yeah, you're right," immediately. Like,
did you listen to it, or did you watch it?
I listened to it. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, me too, because I was on a walk. And like Bill Simmons' podcast is not one you really have to listen to.
No.
It's not one you have to watch. I mean, you can kind of just put it on and like whatever. But so like initially I was sort of with Pablo because I was initially with Pablo, but now I've kind of switched up.
Oh, because of that Bash at the Beach report?
Yeah, because the Bash at the Beach report was so bad. But there were some points in it that he was talking about his own feud with Bill that really pissed me off. He said in the thing that what he was doing was pro wrestling with Bill. That and he kind of acknowledged that like he knew it was dumb, that this feud wasn't real, the beef was all just for show. It wasn't for show for Bill Simmons.
Yeah, he took it very seriously.
Simmons, he may be a fucking idiot, and he is, but he meant every word that he said.
Yeah.
When he first called you a bitch, he meant it. When he said that you weren't a real journalist, he meant it. When he thought you were a freak for reporting about his boy, he meant it, because that's his boy. You know what I mean? Granted, all the capitulations, that all happened too, right? He admitted he was wrong. That was big of him. But I don't like that now Pablo, after taking a big W, is out here acting like it wasn't serious, it wasn't real. I don't like that. That made me
I think he's extending an olive branch to Bill, because he probably doesn't want to keep
If I'm Bill Simmons, you know what I'm doing tomorrow?
Restarting the beef?
I'm impregnating Pablo Torre's wife. No, I'm kidding. I'm having Elon Musk impregnate his wife. You know how these rich guys are.
Yeah, they're freaks.
But no, for real. It just goes back to the thing though, like the whole idea that everything is wrestling, because like the beef is manufactured and it's not real, and it's all just like this transactional game of like getting attention and using that to like do like, this is all stupid to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that is not the point of wrestling, first of all. But when you treat it like that, you're doing this weird, cynical sports entertainer, thing that I've never been a fan of,
I will say, to Pablo and Bill's credit, at least they did meet in the marketplace of ideas.
They had a fight. You're right.
They had a fight.
And Bill, it was a squash match. Bill lost.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't think that he was right. for being belligerently on the side of his boy. You know what I mean? Because that's what I would do. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. If that
No,
was Bill Walsh,
if somebody was out, if Bill Walsh at like I think he's dead.
yeah, he's dead. But if he was still alive and doing stuff
Yeah,
like that,
if it was Kyle Shanahan, I'd throw him right under the bus.
well, yeah, he got to win something first. He
If
win the ring.
if you gotta win me 6 championships before
Yeah, if
I
you win me
start
6
thinking like that.
championships, I'll ride or die, whatever. I mean, it's
Steve Kerr though.
yeah, Eric Spoelstra.
I'm when Steve Kerr went to the DNC and hit the night, I wasn't like, oh, lame, corny, cringe. I said, that man loves America.
Yeah. When Eric Spoelstra went through his divorce, I was on his side.
Yeah, and he didn't even win as many championships as Steve Kerr.
No, he's got 3. No, 2.
That's right.
He's got 2.
That's less than 4 as last I counted.
Yep,
Matt.
it is.
And he won some as a player, including in the 1998 finals, which were not asterisk, which was a W confirmed.
That was the thing. Asterisking the game, it's like, no, that was not. You don't asterisk the game. But then the guy revealed to be a LeBron fan, and he's just trying to diminish Jordan to help LeBron's legend. And that's
they
when
also
I
admitted
lost
that
my
guy
fucking
was a Filipino. Who we love. I'm a big Pancit guy. I'm a big Lumpia guy.
big Pacquiao guy.
No,
No,
not a big Pacquiao guy. I'm not a big Pacquiao guy. I'm a Canelo Alvarez guy. But anyways, the Pablo Torre Bill Simmons beef, it just sort of, I wanted to bring it up because it sort of reflected like this whole idea of like there are people who mean the things they say, and there are people who don't mean the things they say. Which brings us to another beef that happened this week with another Boston media guy, which was Dave Portnoy.
our boy.
So can you want to try to give a little primer really quick about who Dave Portnoy is to the people who probably don't know him?
I think he's kind of like the more toxic Bill Simmons, basically. Right?
He's basically the exact same thing as Bill Simmons, but if Bill Simmons made jokes about sexual assault, race, you name it, he put up a picture of like Tom Brady's naked son to talk about how big his dick was, and people were like, "That's child porn. That's disgusting." And he was like, "It's a joke. Get over it."
I didn't even know about that. That's
complete
crazy
freak, bro. Kind of a funny guy sometimes, but
those pizza reviews were,
I didn't know the Tom Brady stuff, but I was following him because of those pizza reviews and some other things. And I remember at one point somebody reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I noticed you're following Dave Portnoy on Twitter. I just want to let you know that he's problematic." And I was like, "Okay," you know what I mean? But it's like I did appreciate it though, because then I was like, "Really? What did he do?" And I found out he is a freak, and then he got outed as a rapist by the New York Times as well.
Yeah, he's a horrible guy.
He's a truly disgusting human being. So that is all to say, he was in another beef with one of his podcast co-hosts where they were having a conversation. I have a Yahoo News article, of course, up about this. We don't go into the show ready to talk unless we have the Yahoo News article up, ready to give us the sort of the direct things, you know? Yeah. So Dave Portnoy unloaded on Barstool Sports staffer. So like Barstool Sports is like his ringer. It's his thing where he hires a bunch of like random dudes who are like, "That's fucking gay, dude. Tom Brady's the GOAT." And he's like, "Oh, here's $100,000 a year." Yeah. You know what I mean?
Bunch of guys wear their hats like this.
Like that, or like, yeah, it's just like that. Actually, I was gonna do another one, but I'm like, that's literally just it. Because I was gonna say maybe they have the hats that are like this kind of, but that's really not their thing.
Oh, the flat, like the wrestling guy video from the other today.
There's the flat guy, but then there's also like people who that kind of go up like that with it. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But anyways, it's beside the point. Like Philadelphia fans do that kind of shit. My favorite kind of people. So on a recent episode of so he unloaded on a Barstool Sports staffer for wanting to have an anti-Semitic comedian on a Barstool platform. The one thing to know about Dave Portnoy, which is different than Bill Simmons, is that Dave Portnoy is Jewish. He's also a massive Zionist, but he's also like a dumbass. Not
Mhm.
because of the Jewishness or the Zionist thing, but just for like a lack of education thing.
Yeah, he's just a
He
general dumbass.
he also did not go to a great school, or neither did I, by the way, but I just happened to read things. But so like last month or so, he has a bar where he had a guy come into the bar and get bottle service, which, Tony, can you explain bottle service? Because there might be people like me who didn't know what it was until yesterday when you explained it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common now, but it's basically just reserving VIP seating in a nightclub or a restaurant, usually a nightclub, and
Yeah.
you have to buy a bottle to get the booth, and
And they
so they
come out with
upcharge the
like
bottles.
sparkler, and they make a
Yeah,
big to do about it.
sparklers.
It's like if
You
you
get all
order
the mixers with it.
fajitas, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like if you go to Chili's and you get fajitas, it's like that's basically you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, and if it's your birthday and they sing you a song,
But so at his bar stool, at his bar, you could get a little sign, like a little marquee for a movie. You have whatever phrase you want on it. And he wrote, "Fuck the Jews," as a joke, as a hilarious bit. No, not a hilarious bit, just very
It's funny.
anti-Semitic.
It's
So
hilarious.
so Bill Simmons, so Dave Portnoy goes, "I'm going to send him to Auschwitz." Not to do what they used to do at Auschwitz, though, so that he could learn about what happened at Auschwitz. But then as he's going, he's like, "I'm going to send him to fucking Germany to understand this." And it's like, that's not where Auschwitz is. I just love that, like, there are dudes like this who are like, this is the most important issue to me. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. But also, like, I'm going to send you somewhere so you can get educated on it.
I don't need the education.
I don't need it. You do.
It reminds me of like the Ethan Klein shit, where he's like, he keeps ranting about these different things that are going on with Israel Palestine. He has no clue what's going on over there.
No,
he like hears things secondhand from his insane wife, and then he just repeats them verbatim, but like through sort of like a game of telephone, like a Zionist game of telephone, where then he's just like, saying how Hamas has like taken over the sewers like they're the Ninja Turtles. He's a dumbass, but Portnoy's on that wavelength,
Yeah.
So Portnoy has created this whole legion of fans that are all toxic dumbasses like him, including like, people like me who like didn't even know how toxic he was. They're just like, "Oh, it's kind of funny, whatever." But like, that's how they do it. It's like, you start off going, "Oh, it's kind of funny, whatever." And then they push the Overton window to where you're more and more of a freak. And then you'll just accept whatever crazy shit they have to say. Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, why is Mac Jones gritty funny? I don't know. Let me watch this video. And then like 3 videos later, you're
like, "Oh yeah, about, AOC is a dumb commie bitch."
Yeah. Yeah. We need to keep men out of women's sports or something.
But that's the whole game, is like, they do like basic sports highlights, and then they immediately funnel you into like being a fascist, right? Mm-hmm. So like, that's just to give you an idea of like what this guy is, what he's all about. So on a recent episode of the Unnamed Show, Dave Portnoy and his co-host Kirk Minihane argued about comments made by a content creator who goes by Beyond Average Mick, who criticized Portnoy's reaction to the recent anti-Semitic incident at a bar that Portnoy owns in Philadelphia. The conversation reached a boiling point when Minihane told Portnoy not to tell him to shut up. Now, you've watched this?
Yes.
It's only 20 seconds, so I want to maybe share it if we can. Let's see if my computer will allow this. Because you really have to see it to understand what a nut job he was being. So Dave Portnoy is the guy in the center. This guy right here is a hockey player who says nothing for the entire episode. And this guy is Kirk Minihane or whatever the fuck.
Shut up! If you just want me to ignore it,
don't tell me to shut up. Don't tell
shut the fuck up, you bald fuck.
By the way, not that bald.
Yeah. When you said that, I'm like, wait, that's not. That's stolen valor. He's not.
Yeah. I watched a 15-minute version of this whole segment where it's just on this guy's face, and literally he makes the same face, stone face, the entire time. It was so insane.
Shout out to that guy.
Okay, go ahead.
How's that?
Oh, it's kill. I'll never recover from that, Dave. Go ahead, continue. I'll never recover.
Well, you're the one who like, oh, big boss man, don't tell. I'll tell you, you work for me.
Okay, go ahead,
You
continue.
little bitch, you work
Continue.
for me.
Sure, you bet. For now,
Oh, you
continue.
don't? For now.
Crazy.
For now. Did he fire him or no?
He did not.
Oh.
I accidentally closed out that article. Hold on. So previously, Temple student Mo Khan posted a video on social media showing a bottle service sign that the Portnoy-owned bar with the message "Fuck the Jews" written on it. Portnoy spoke with Khan, who initially took responsibility and offered to send an educational trip to an Auschwitz concentration camp. When Khan changed his story and claimed he was not involved in the incident, Portnoy called him a coward. That prompted Beyond Average Mick to call Portnoy Rabbi Dave and criticize him for what he believed was a sanctimonious response to the incident. When Minahane suggested having Beyond Average Mick on his Barstool show to have a conversation with Portnoy, Portnoy was not pleased. "I hate this kid," Portnoy said. "I do think he's an anti-Semitic piece of shit." When Portnoy said that certain Jew jokes crossed the line, Minahane pushed back and suggested jokes of that nature should be allowed. "You're telling a comedian not to make a joke," Minahane said. "Okay, we'll ban Jew jokes of that nature. We'll get a constitution. We'll get Congress to ban Jew jokes of that nature." Minahane explained his reasoning for wanting to have Beyond Average Mick on the show. "I thought it would be interesting to have somebody on who you disagree with and have a conversation with," Minahane said, which I thought you were trying to do with bringing these guys to Auschwitz, trying to have a conversation so you can put a name and a face to someone who you disagree with. You don't want to do that, so I was wrong. This is about Portnoy released a follow-up clip on Thursday. This is about the bigger thing. Clips. When we talk about taken out of context, Portnoy said, "Now I'm seeing Dave wants to throw people in jail for Jew jokes, and Dave wants to regulate Jew jokes, and he's been in this free speech guy. And remember, he's saying that Ja Rule lyric 10 years ago? It's crazy." So, like, here's what happened. After Dave Portnoy crashed out, you saw how intense he was in that clip.
Mm-hmm.
He started saying that, like, no, not all jokes are okay, which, like, spits in the face of the audience that he cultivated,
Yeah.
which were like permissive of every other kind of joke, rape joke, race joke.
That's their whole thing.
Every other joke was on the table, and he's saying, but no, like, there's a rising anti-Semitism. There's these attacks, and he's like naming. There's the attack where, like, they threw a Molotov cocktail on these people. There's the shooting that happened here. There's this thing that happened here, and it's like, no, those all happened, and anti-Semitism is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why people said that maybe, like, black jokes, like making jokes about black people, that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't see it that way, even though people get killed by the cops. Black people get killed by the cops every fucking day, right? Like, it's just funny that, like, when it affects him personally, now it's the biggest issue, and everybody should understand where he's coming from. But it's like, so you were not about the shit that you believed in. And, you know, like, in fairness, I probably, for a good percentage of my life, also held that point of view of, like, the idea that, like, if you can't take the joke, it's on you and not on me for making the joke. Like, that definitely was, like, and it's something that I still, you know, like, I was making the fucking Filipino joke earlier where it's like, yeah, maybe if I made that with one of my Filipino friends, probably different than when there's none here, right? probably hits a little different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
I remember
I
being in a car with a Filipino and with one of my boys, and I was like, hey, what's like a good racial, like, you know, stereotype about Filipinos? He goes, there really aren't any. I'm like, yeah, let's make some up. Like, we had this whole conversation of, like, what it could possibly be. And it, you know, it went on forever, you know, like me and my Filipino friend. But anyways, like, now, like, and when I was younger, I would make jokes, like, you know, rape jokes and all these kind of things, thinking that, like, it's all okay until you start hearing from people who are affected by those jokes and the culture of permissiveness that rises out of that. You know, it does lead to violence. And like, Portnoy is admitting that in these clips. But what what he doesn't realize is that his audience does not want to hear that shit.
Yeah, no, they just
You know
want
what
to
I
hear the
mean?
rape jokes.
Because
They want to hear the racist
immediately
jokes.
they
They want to
turned
hear
on
the
him.
Jew.
Immediately. You know? Immediately they were like, you're fucking stupid, you're a fucking idiot, you
Yeah.
know, like you claim to be about free speech and now you're not. And it was like, it was so funny that like him sticking up for Jewish people who are victims of anti-Semitism was like a PR crisis for Barstool Sports. Like the rare take of his where it's like it might not be a great take in general, but it's at least rooted in somewhere good, even though he's a Zionist piece of shit. Like Zionism and being Jewish are two separate things, and I
Yeah,
think
that's the same
violence
thing.
against Jewish people is disgusting, right?
Yes. Yes.
So like it's like he was right with the general idea of like we shouldn't hurt these kind of people, right? But he's now created an audience of people. He's built an empire on the idea that nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
So then if that's the case, you don't get to then decide here are my limits. You know what I mean? You can't say there are no boundaries here and then say, well, here are my boundaries, obviously. It's crazy.
It's an empire of shit.
Yeah. He goes, this is about a bigger thing. Clips we talk about taken out of context. Now I'm seeing Dave wants to throw people in jail for Jew jokes, and Dave wants to regulate Jew jokes, and he's been this free speech guy. And remember, he's saying about Ja Rule 10 years ago. It's crazy. So let me just set the record straight, because people just watch these little clips I was referring to. If you're making a Jew joke right now, currently, after a bunch of Jews got Molotov cocktails thrown on them in Colorado, or after 2 Jews are gunned down outside of a Jewish museum, and your response is somehow it's the Jews' fault or a veiled Jew joke, you're an anti-Semitic piece of shit. That's what this is about. But what he doesn't realize is that's not what this is about. What this is about is your audience. It would be different if your audience was like Bill Simmons' audience. Bill Simmons didn't make an audience, like he made an audience of dorks, right? So like this would be like if he was like, actually Jaws isn't that good. They'd be like, how dare you? Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Game of Thrones is actually dumb.
Yeah. But that's not what, like, if he was like, you know what, analytics are actually stupid, they'd be like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
But this is a different crowd where they want to make the Jew jokes.
Yeah.
It would be like if Trump was like, wow, Elon Musk fat shamed me or something. Like, no. His whole thing is it's okay. But what's funny is like Dave Portnoy is like so emblematic of the right and this moment they're in right now, where they want to have it both ways, where they want to be able to say, like, this is a what's the right word? Like this is an uneven playing field here. This is a one-sided war where like we are allowed to be as ruthless and as fucked up and as insulting and as degrading as we want to be. And if you say anything about us that would cross your threshold of inappropriateness, that's fucked up of you. But we get to do that all the time. You know what I mean? It's asymmetrical warfare.
Yeah, it's basically the genocide in Gaza.
Right, exactly.
I mean, not, but
I mean, like,
it's the same
idea. It's the same idea of like,
same operating procedure.
We get to bomb every school, church, hospital, street, apartment building, anything we want. Anything we want. It can be, turned into dust in a second.
But if you throw a rocket,
if you send a rocket towards us that will get shot down by the Iron Dome provided by the United States government, you're evil and you're validating how much we're going to send your way.
And we're going to kill all the women and children.
But that's this like whole thing. And they're the victims of it. Like they all want to be the victim and they also want to be the aggressor. And you cannot have it both ways.
Nope.
Which brings me to our boy Mark Millar.
I blinked in my head as we were talking about this. I saw the connection.
My boy Mark Millar, who is on this. I mean, he's been on it for a long time. This sort of right-wing shift, and it's funny because like he's another guy who I would think would say it's all like this is all free speech. If you're not having conversations with people, then like you're fucked up, you know? Which is crazy because then he blocked me on Twitter. Hypocrite, pussy, loser. You know what I mean?
It's like, this is the everything app except Ramon.
That's fucked up. I'm, by the way, one of only 7 comics creators who actually even uses Twitter anymore. Everyone else abandoned it because it's a Nazi website.
It really is.
I mean, good for them. You know, I'm only doing it because I love Elon Musk. but so Mark Millar, he's been on this right wing shift forever now, and he know. I love that he blocked me because it means he knows who I am. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we watched because he kind of came up the other day in like the media, like, or, you know, social media, like people were talking about him because 2 things happened. One is he kind of hinted that he was going to be writing a very special project for maybe Marvel or DC, or maybe both. And then what gets announced? Marvel and DC's upcoming Deadpool Batman book.
By Grant Morrison.
Written by, on the Marvel side, Zeb Wells and drawn by John Romita Jr. Right? No.
Yeah.
Greg Capullo. Shout out to Big Greg.
One of
Muscular
the goats.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But he, you know, he's one of the guys. And then on the other side, Grant Morrison, one of the goats. One of the all-time best to ever do it, although they could chill out on the AI. They can maybe take it easy on the AI.
Are they using AI now? What?
They won't stop using AI. Apparently, I don't subscribe to their newsletter, but apparently every newsletter is like, here's a new AI thing I did.
Oh, what are they doing?
They're fucking up.
Yeah.
And then also Dan Mora, who's drawing that one, who's, you know, shout out, I guess. But so before this got announced, Millar was like kind of hinting like he might be doing it, like he might be involved. But instead, he announced a new book that he's doing with John Romita Jr. Artist of
What is
Kick-Ass.
this? Kick-Ass 5? Is that what they're doing? They're doing another Kick-Ass?
They're doing a new book called Psychic Sam. I want to pull this up. Because it's not like, you know, Mark Millar kind of famously took like $1 million to from like Netflix to sort of develop what's going on over at Netflix, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the article here. It says Mark Millar began posting some teasers that he might be doing a Marvel DC crossover. This is from Bleeding Cool, my favorite site. Shout out to my guy Rich. Rich, talk about our show. Let people know that we're doing big things over here, that we're doing gambling. We're giving people ways to improve their life by gambling. By the way, are you taking the over, or who taking on this series?
The OKC one or the Florida Panthers? Which one are we talking about?
Florida Panthers and the OKC.
Panthers in 6, and I'm taking Pacers in 6.
Wow, you're taking the Pacers. Did I sway you because I told you how good Halliburton was?
No, I was won over last night.
Well, it looks like our Florida Panthers are about to tie up this series, by the way.
Don't say anything. 7 minutes left. Don't say anything. No whammies.
I would never reverse jinx it. By the way, Joe Biden, get better soon, bud. We need you back out there on the campaign trail to win us the primaries.
He probably still thinks it's going on.
He probably thinks that he's still running for the 2024 election. They probably have to wake him up every day like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates to be like, no, you're fucking Adam Sandler.
Uncle Bubba says Mark Millar's fart smellar. It's a good one.
Is this Para said, dude Chud podcast lover regular guy who says nothing. AJ Hawk is like that on McAfee.
Oh yeah,
that's my guy. Don't ever talk about McAfee. That's my dog. I'm
He's
trying to
a
get on
McAfee.
Busting with the Boys. I'm trying to get a DraftKings sponsorship.
I take that money.
So Millar teased some spoilers. He said, a short while ago, Marvel asked me if I'd come back and write a big summer crossover. Around the same time, DC asked if I'd do a huge Superman story for them. Being a fanboy, both invitations were very interesting. And I carved out 12 weeks in my Millar World schedule. What a horrible schedule. But when I sat down to write at the end of last year, my brain went in a completely different direction that involved neither Marvel nor DC.
You think when he sits down to write, he goes in his office, he's like, time to enter the Millar world. And he puts on his robe and
he goes like he does this. I'm edgy now. I'm Mark Millar and I'm edgy.
Puts on some Prodigy. Smack my bitch up. Bow.
So he says, around the same time, DC asked me if I'd do a huge Superman story. It has to be huge.
Has to be.
If I do a huge Superman story for them. Being a fanboy, both invitations were very interesting. And I carved out 12 weeks of my Millar World schedule. But when I sat down to write at the end of the last year, my brain went out in a completely different direction and involved neither Marvel nor DC. Tomorrow, you guys find out what that is. And now we know. The multi-millionaire Mark Millar is launching a Kickstarter for the previously teased new graphic novel with Kick-Ass co-creator John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson.
What is he doing a Kickstarter for? That is
he
just
wants to make money.
As someone who does lots of Kickstarters, this is disgusting.
I get it. Because you want to know, are the fans going to be there for Mark Millar and John Romita Jr.? It's been a while. Not everybody can just go out into the marketplace and be like, here's my new book. Everybody go buy it. He doesn't have that kind of pool anymore. He might have at one point.
I'll tell you what, that first Kick-Ass I liked purely because of JR.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he was really cooking there.
He was very racist in that book. Not JR.
Millar was, yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay. It was a different time. It was the mid 2000s or whatever.
Yeah. I was in there for the JR, man. The guy was a machine.
Beautiful work from JR. I am a fan. I'm a fan of Millar's book Trouble.
Yeah.
That's the one I like. Yeah. I'm a Trouble guy.
The Spider-Man book with the weird cover.
It's like it's like Millar trying to do a comedy, like a teen sex comedy, but it's just about how like Uncle Ben got cucked over and over by Peter Parker's dad.
That's great. That's great stuff.
It was very strange. It was inappropriate. It was disgusting. But I'm a fan, obviously, because I like the horrible things. So he continues, Sam Nicoletti hears a voice in his head the day before something bad happens. The voice tells him the name and address of a murderer, and if he ignores this voice, an innocent person dies. At first, he thought he was crazy, but as the bodies start building up, he realizes he needs to do something. After a while, he hears about a murder that's so horrific, he needs to intervene. What would you do in this situation?
Start
you call the cops, and they think you're crazy because nothing bad has happened yet. But unless you take matters to your own hands, innocent people are going to suffer.
The
Psychic Sam will not be a Netflix comic series. It will be creator-owned by Millar and Romita, and what they promise will be a major movie from Ivan Atkinson, producer of The Gentleman and The Wrath of Man. Have you heard of either of those movies, by the way?
Wrath of Man is Jason Statham.
So, yeah?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Was it good?
It was like Jason Statham. It's typical Jason Statham fare, Okay. Some cool action, him just going, all right,
But not a major movie, though, for real.
No. It's on Tubi right now.
Tubi movie.
Yeah.
Sort of like the thing that you would get, like...
It's like Transporter 2 or...
Yeah. Like, if they could even get our boy Jason Statham in this movie, it would be huge for them. But I don't even think he would do it.
He might.
I don't think he would. I think this would be beneath him. He'd say, mate, Kickstarter, mate. No,
All it's
I only do
crowdfunded,
real-
isn't it?
I only do real IP, innit? Major motion pictures.
Oh, sorry, mate. I gotta do Meg 4 or Meg 3.
I need the Beekeeper 2
Oh shit, let's go.
and 3.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter publication will be through Side Hustle Comics. Watch the cost though, because it will be printed in the States. It will cost as much as the cover price to ship it back to the UK. $25 cover price for the standard edition comes with shipping of $15 to $25 to ship it to Europe. Is it $50? Is it worth $50 to you? No. It has already received $3,667 in pledges of its $27,138 goal with 41 backers and 43 goals to go. Wait, it's got to have reached that goal by now, right?
Yeah, you should check that. I bet you it's
Yeah, it's got to have. This is an old article.
That's probably like the first 30 minutes I got $3,000. If then maybe more.
Oh, they've smashed that goal, bruv.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good to see
68
small indie guys really take off, you know.
They're at 68K, dude. That's cool. And you know what I bet helped him? Going on the Critical Drinker podcast. Because let's be real, no normal people are going to read this book, but a lot of dumbass chuds are going to be like, what can I read that speaks to my sensibilities? And Mark Millar goes on the podcast, starts hyping up this book, gets people excited about maybe a Mark Millar book. Nobody's been excited about that since 2005.
What was that? Which one was that?
You know what I mean? He's been washed ever since. Now, I read his books because I'm a Frank Quitely guy. But most people are not like true ball knowers like me, so they don't read a lot of these Mark Millar books, but I have to read them all because I need to know what my guy Frank Quitely is getting up to. And he usually works with this guy because he pays him so much money. But although Frank Quitely loves me, which is true, Mark Millar hates me. And it's a strange situation to be in, that one of my best friends and one of my worst enemies are frequent collaborators.
Your best friends?
What?
One of your best friends?
We talk, yeah.
Your best pals?
Wouldn't you say that we're best friends? Like he loves me. He calls me R, just one word, just one letter. Like you only do that to a close friend of yours. There's so many names that begin with the letter R, but he's like R. That's what he calls me. Don't believe me? Check Twitter.
Not on Twitter, so
you have to take my word for it.
It's hard to take the word of somebody who uses Twitter, to be perfectly honest.
But I'm only doing it to own Trump at this point. I'm sorry, do you love Trump? I'm the enemy of the enemy is my enemy, dog. So that's why I'm an Elon guy and I'm an X guy. But yeah, so he went on. He got also news because he went on this guy Critical Drinker podcast. Critical Drinker is one of these YouTubers who just is like, I hate whatever the woke thing is. I hate like that Star Wars show, not the new one, but the one before that one, The Acolyte. Hate The Acolyte. Hate Captain Marvel. Hate. You get the idea. Just whatever there's like a thing that's like the anti-woke guys hate. He hates it.
Probably hates Andor for sure. Won't talk about it, right?
Well, that's a different guy.
That's Star Wars theory. My bad.
Yeah,
I'm getting confused. They all kind of blend together after a while.
They'd be so confused if they saw me like looking like this, like looking like fucking so cool. Why does this cool guy hate us so much? He's got Oakleys on, real official Oakleys. Like we don't, doesn't even compute, doesn't even register. Like normally people with Oakleys love us.
Yeah, he's one of our guys.
Yeah, must be crazy. But I had a point about this. The main point was fuck Mark Millar, of course, because he doesn't like me because he blocked me. But you know the thing that it's like the thing about him that really gets me is that like he has spent so much of his career talking crazy shit. And so for him to then turn around and pull the Dave Portnoy move of being like, no, people need to be nice now. Like that's his whole thing now. Is like he will go around and like moralize about anti-cancel culture because he's saying like the people who do cancel culture, obviously me, that we're all vicious scumbags. He called me a cancel pig.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the idea that like, okay, this guy's a piece of shit because he talks badly about people. Like you're Mark Millar. That's all you ever did. Where do you think I started learning to talk shit about other comics people? It was from guys like you and Grant Morrison and all these old pros that I grew up reading their comics and loving. Well, I didn't love Mark Millar comics, but I read them, you know, when I got older and I was trying to figure out what was really going on out here and I wanted to read shitty comics too. You know, I read some Mark Millar. But it's like it's the asymmetrical warfare thing that we were talking about that really gets me because what's funny is he goes on that Critical Drinker podcast and the whole show he's just going like, you know, they want to bring him into that world, but he's still like now because he's created these new boundaries of like not talking shit, except for unless it's about Ramon Villalobos, by the way. He's boxed himself into being a nice guy. So they brought him in to shit on James Gunn, who they all hate because he's woke, but he can't do it because he's like, no, I might work with James Gunn.
Yeah, I'm not fucking with the bag.
I don't want to do all that, you know.
Yeah.
Although I want to be one of you guys, one of these anti-woke right-wing kind of guys, these like Tucker Carlson kind of guys, I can't do that because I'm bound by things bigger than this cynical grift that I'm doing. And that got me thinking of like, oh, that's why people like that hate people like me. You know what I mean? Because I am like unshackled by these kind of concerns. I remember one time I was having this conversation with my editor, my boy Warren Simons, shout out. And we were talking about movies, and I was telling him about how much I love the movie The Master, the PTA movie. And he was telling me that like that movie reminded him of me because there's this scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, is telling Joaquin Phoenix, like they have that emotional scene where he's going like, you think that, you know, you can exist in this world without a master, you know, but you can't. And when you find out how to do that, let me know, or something along those lines, basically saying like, you know, you're unshackled and like people don't, like real people don't live like you. You know what I mean? And even though I'm not fully gone like that, I really took that as a compliment, even though I'm not sure it was supposed to be. Because
I don't think it is.
Joaquin Phoenix is a psycho in that movie.
Yeah, he's a psychopath. You're like huffs fucking, was it glue or paint or what? He's a paint huffer, right?
He was huffing something good.
He was huffing something.
But I was like, you know, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, like, this is the image that I project.
You're untethered.
I'm untethered. And sometimes it's a liability, you know? But one thing that I'll say, and this is another thing that I've talked to another, I'm not going to say his name, but I talked to another prominent comic writer one time about this. And he was, like, talking to me about how, like, Ramon, I will not say the name of the person. It was definitely not Warren Ellis, though. It's a person who was writing comics. They were popping real hard. And he said, Ramon, what you do online is like you treat it like it's this wrestling thing and you're playing the heel. And not everybody gets to do that because some of us are trying to sell books. But I had to look him dead in the eye and tell him, listen, bro, the problem is you think I'm a heel, but I'm the face.
Buddy, see, everything is wrestling.
I told him, you think I'm a heel because you don't like that I don't have your values, but there are plenty of people, the people who are, you know, telling you to say something about Comicsgate or whatever, right? That like they look at you bad because you're not standing by your principles. And no, the only people that are looking at me bad are the fucking freak Nazi weirdos, the dirt freaks, the losers, the people who I don't want to associate with anyways, the Mark Millars of the world. These people look at me bad because they're like, why doesn't Ramon sell out his values, his principles, so that he can just get another step up, you know? But I don't want to do that. I've never wanted to do that. And I think it's always crazy the way that some people will gladly do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I won't say the name of that person, but it's like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I seriously was like, oh, like, you think I'm a piece of shit because I don't mind standing 10 toes down for shit that I believe in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because like otherwise, why would you say like you're a heel? It's like no. I'm a good guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's part of that deal. Like that's cool if you don't want to say anything. Not you, but you know the general. If someone doesn't want to say something about an issue, but don't get in the way of somebody who does. Like because you're not helping, you're actually hurting. You know.
Yeah. And
That's the way I look at it.
That's
It's like
right.
You say stuff that I would never say online, and some of it I feel I agree with you, and some of it I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I don't totally agree with that. But most of the time, it's like I'm pretty much our values are pretty like this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
like you can say stuff.
We've talked about things that like maybe I want to talk about on the show. You're like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool, no problem.
Yeah,
we'll find other things
You
to talk
respect that.
about. Yeah, I respect it, and it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, but ultimately, you know that I'm not doing it because I'm just like,
What's the thing? I've always felt like you have a good heart and you come from a place of wanting what's best for humanity and people in general, even though you control about it and you can come off with, you know, the bits, you know, the gimmick. But I know that you have a good heart and I know where you're coming from. Like for the minute, if for a second I thought you weren't coming from a good place or you didn't have a good heart or your values were in line with mine, I would not abide it, you know. But I know you. I know you're a good guy. You know?
yeah, and same, you know.
Thanks.
But it's like it's just one of those things where it's like guys like Millar or you know some of the other people who like value the money more than anything else, or like value the careerism and all this kind of shit, industry shit. It's like, yeah, I just don't like. I don't agree with that, and I don't like. There are things that I care about more than that, and I'm glad to like discuss them.
It's crazy too with someone like him because he doesn't like he's been so successful like beyond the pale for most comic creators. Like to have a career like that is like crazy, and yet he still is kind of is the way he is. It's like he should be untethered, you know, someone like that. But then we watch him on the show and he won't say a thing about James Gunn.
Yeah, like there were when Substack was giving people a ton of money. And our friend Sophie got it, by the way. She gave me this sweet Optimus Primal from that money. When our friend Sophie got her Substack money, I was making fun of the Substack people for taking the money, right? And it was like, Ramon, what if they gave you money?
You take it.
I was like, okay, they're not gonna give me money because I say this shit. But guess what? They weren't going to give me the money anyways because I said other shit like this before in the past. None of these people like me, and I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's fine. I don't give a shit. But it's.
But now if they said they needed a token Mexican guy, they would have been throwing you some cash. You would have been like, oh.
There's no need for a token Mexican guy. They don't care about Mexicans. Half of these comics writers would just as soon have me deported by ICE. They would say, "Look at his tattoos. He's a freak.
He's a gang member. Send him to El Salvador."
I think he's an MS-13.
Well, you can't even spell MS-13.
Ship him to El Salvador, where he belongs. But anyways, Yeah, the Millard thing was just funny. Like him coming up and then me remembering that he like had blocked me and seeing him go on all these like right-wing podcasts to talk about this fucking. And by the way, not even promote his book while he's on it. Like,
yeah, it was kind of crazy too because he took a lot of strays online for that, and people are saying how he's on there with these right-wing Comicsgate guys or whatever. And then we watched it, and he really didn't say anything offensive about anybody.
no,
just
that
was
was
on
the
there.
fun. That was the best part, is because he was scared to do any
Yeah.
of that stuff. You know,
He just was
like
buttoned up.
he's super timid. Like he loves to complain about anti-woke people, or like he loves to complain about woke people, but he's afraid to like say what his convictions actually are, and like stand by anything because it might hurt his bottom line. And like what was I gonna say? You made a good point, and I was trying to add on to it, and I forgot.
Well, that he didn't say a thing on that show while they were
Right.
trying to get him to say something. You could
Right,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I could tell that they were trying to egg him on. They were like, so yeah, about this like James Gunn Superman, like what's that all about? And Mark
Yeah.
Millar's like, well, you know, maybe there's like a narrative reason for this, that, or the other thing, and I can't wait to see what James does with it. And I was just like sitting there, like, wait, are we?
That's what the
Is that
awesome
on board?
part was that's what I was gonna say, was like he basically went onto their show and he's not following the marching orders of what they're supposed to be doing because he doesn't know it, because he doesn't really care. It's very cynical, right?
Yeah.
So he goes on there and he's just like shitting on all of their narratives about these people that they've been building up for months. And they bring him on as like an expert in the industry, in the field of like comics and movies and all this shit.
Mhm.
And they want him to
It's a big
join
get.
them in these complaints, but he cannot do it. And he
Yeah.
doesn't care to do it because
Yeah.
it's about other things than that. Like that was strictly like a money-making thing. He wasn't going to like risk other money. Like
Yeah.
there are different, you know. And by the way, like, you know, I was talking all that shit with the sunglasses on when I'm going, you know, I'm in a heel mode, brother. But the like I don't think I ever say anything that's too crazy anyways. You know what I mean? Like the times that I've spoke out about things is like, yeah, like I'm like I don't like racism or sexual abuse and things like that. And it's like you were saying earlier, like it's kind of crazy that people would say like, oh, you know, like the reason why I said Substack was so dirty was because it was like this sort of transparent like right-wing source of misinformation that was huge at the time, spreading anti-vaxxer shit and transphobic shit.
Mhm.
You know? So like, yeah, like I thought, oh, this is disgusting. This is a whole like just whitewashing operation to try to get like people to like go make like to become the funnel that we were talking about. Like Barstool Sports will put out a clip of like, you know, some basketball play and be like, wow, can you believe this? People follow that, and then they somehow become fascists, you know? Like that's what like existing in the media today, or like being sort of any kind of consumer of media today is just like doing your best to avoid falling into a trap where you become a fascist for liking a video about like, is it a cake or is it a fucking real thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every content that you consume will somehow lead you to the alt-right pipeline.
Dude,
And it's-
I've been watching a lot of those WWE fans like kind of come to Jesus moments, you know, talking about how it sucks. WWE sucks now and AEW is great. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I see the algorithm starts coming up with all these like more obscure like wrestling things and other like manosphere-esque type videos. You know, I can see it and I'm like, damn, if I was like someone who wasn't indoctrinated and know the deal, like I would easily, like if I was a young person, like a 15-year-old boy who
if
just
I
wants
was a
to read
WWE fan of any age, I would be so
yeah,
my mind would be like clay. It would be so
because
easily molded.
it's very smooth, you know,
Yeah.
like there's no divots in it at all.
You know, it's just very easily molded into fascism. But that's
you eat yourself into the fucking gulag, you know.
That's what's so sick about like AEW is like they're good matches. It's about the wrestling, and you don't have to watch that shit anymore. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's by the
but
way.
you know what?
Oh, go on.
Back to that, they do stories better than WWE. You know, they do just enough for me to where I get my fit because I like the sports entertainment stuff as well. I like I mean I like the matches like you, but I
You're
also
not as
like
dogmatic as me of like I don't care.
No, I like a little bit of the drama. I like this male soap or not the male because It's ladies too. I like the soap opera aspect of it too. And I like a good promo, but I like that. Like I like a right pinch of each of it, because to me it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that whole carnival aspect, big tent aspect of it. Like I want to go watch a show where I get some comedy, I get some blood, I get some brutality, I get some jokes, I get to see some sexy stuff, I get some anything you can think of, some spooky stuff. I like the spooky stuff.
For me
Give it
though,
all
it's
to me.
like the thing that gets me about that other shit though is like it's be like if someone goes like, "Oh, I like watching basketball for the like post game press conferences and the walk
Well,
in outfits." It's like I don't care. I want to watch basketball. The
well,
extra shit,
yeah, I would say
the
that's different.
Draymond Green podcast is like I don't need it to enjoy.
Well, I wouldn't need that. No one needs that, to be
That's what I'm
honest.
saying, but that's all they want. They all
Yeah.
want the shoot interviews and you know what I mean? They all want that shit, and I just don't care. But yes, I agree
I
with
like
you
all
that
of
AEW is better than a lot of the WWE. Because the thing is, you and I have watched a lot of WWE stuff lately,
Yeah,
like
it's not
almost
good.
against our will, frankly, if I'm being honest. And it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. The commercialization is crazy.
That's what's so funny about the fans like beginning to like turn on WWE is they're all going like, wait a minute, this like they're like squeezing us all dry and they're like putting ads on everything. This is like kind of gross. It's like it's always been gross.
Yeah.
The
Like,
time
this
that
is
you're
kind of
pining
sucked.
for was when it was a sex trafficking ring. It's like, what are you fucking on about, bro?
Yeah. Like, I'm starting to think that this is all just a big money making thing for TKO. Like, oh really? You think that's where it's at? It took the Slim Jim tables to put you over the edge.
Yeah, it really did. By the way, you like I bust this out because I was wearing it my Bryan Danielson old school WWE shirt that I have. And
You're getting work, brother.
when I was blindly giving this is from a defunct podcast called Straight Shoot.
Oh wow.
My old friend Aubrey Sitterson used to run it, and I used to be on it all the time from The Worst Dudes.
The Worst Dudes.
Yeah, I never he gave me the shirt and I never wore it. Or like I wore it every once in a while, but I was like, I don't like people thinking like I'm being rude to them with this shirt. This is like you're
thinking about
getting.
getting? Well, I think the wrestling guy, wrestling fans would know. They nod at you like, "Oh, yeah, haha, funny."
I just like.
I'm thinking
you're calling people bro.
I'm thinking about getting an AEW hat. I think that's gonna be my next purchase.
I threw it on though because I wanted for the show. I wanted like a little extra, like, oh, he's like sending a message, know.
It's all work, brother.
Yeah, it's all work. Everything is wrestling.
That's what I tell people when I meet them in person. And they go, "You're friends with that guy Ramon? Isn't he kind of a dick?" I'm like, "It's all work."
People say that.
Just joking, man.
People for real say that?
No.
That's crazy.
I did have one person say to me one time, like, "What's he really like?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm not gonna say.
Dang. Prominent person?
I'd say middle ground.
Shout out to him. No, I've had people come up to me and ask me like, "What are your politics actually?" I've had people come up to me and go, like, "Oh, you're so much nicer than we thought you'd be. We thought you'd be a real dickhead."
Yeah.
But I'm a genuinely super nice guy.
Try to tell him it's like it's all work. It's all work, brother.
It's all work.
He's just doing bits.
What else?
He's just ripping.
I mean, I feel like we kind of wrapped up the show like in a fucking sick way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one of the 250 killers out there.
Dude, I watched that video. Our boy Gringo Poppy. He's not doing so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually was supposed to watch it because you sent it to me, and I had seen it when I woke up and was like getting stuff done, and I was like, oh, I want to like watch it, So I put it aside and I haven't got around to it.
You might not have to.
I went on my walk and I was doing all my work. No, I do want to see it because I've been following the Brendan Schaub situation from the very beginning. Yeah, I'm a big MMA guy, if you recall.
Yeah. Well, he's on the low end
But,
right now. Yeah, he's gonna have a come up, I bet.
That's cool.
Can't rule out
Sort of
that
like our guy
they-
Elon,
Yeah.
down but not out.
Down but
Sort
not
of like our
out.
guy
Not yet.
Mark, doing little Kickstarters, even though he's a multi-millionaire. Nasty work.
It really is. It's gross to see.
But yeah, no,
It's gross to see.
I feel like we're at 8:20. We should start just kind of wrapping up and kind of just feeling out how this is gonna go. Oh, you know what I saw the other day, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit, was Ibrahim's sweet repaint of that T-Rex.
Hell yeah.
I was fucking
Go
sick.
crazy with those eyes.
It's crazy watching Ibrahim's content and then getting fed all of this other lesser action figure content all the time.
Yeah.
It's like none of it's as good as his. Some of the repaints are cool when it's like a Gundam Wing guy and he does sick like airbrush work or whatever. But most of the people are not as good as Ibrahim at that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And or they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I got this new figure or whatever," and it's like again like a right wing chud. He's like, "Oh, the new Fantastic Four movie is woke. I don't like it." But his new video about the T-Rex is cool. It's got me really excited because I can't wait for the new Jurassic Park movie.
It's coming out soon.
Mm-hmm. I was supposed to, by the way, see that movie Pavements yesterday, but the Regal Theaters, we got beef because these motherfuckers had a screening for Thursday in Stockton, and I was gonna go see it. That's why we had to cancel the show yesterday. Because I had made the plans and I forgot that it was that day. And then we had already made the plans and you were like, "Oh, I was going to do yoga." I'm like, "Oh, go do yoga because I don't know what's going on with this movie." But then they just said it was unavailable. I've never seen anything like that before. These movie theaters, they're doing highway robbery.
Yeah.
Uncle Bubba says, "Did you see the Galactus popcorn bucket?" I did a little.
No.
You posted it, right, in our chat?
No.
Oh, I thought somebody posted it. Maybe somebody else did. But I did see it. Who's playing Galactus in that movie? Do we know?
No, I have no idea.
Adam says, "Did you already pay for tickets?" I did not. Because I wasn't able to. But I imagine they would have just been refunded had I paid early. But I never pay until the day before, just in case. I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going after all. One time I was gonna go see a movie. Which movie was it? Fuck, I think it was like, it was a movie I ended up not even watching last year. But I went to go to the theater to watch it the opening day, and when I got there, I realized I was there a day early, and so I was like, you know what? Give me a refund. I'm not going to see this movie after all. Like, it's not worth it. I don't want to come back tomorrow. I already invested too much time into today being the day.
I got some sports news. Panthers and Oilers are tied up in overtime, 4-4. And the New York Knicks are interested in speaking with Jason Kidd.
I can't believe Panthers didn't end that game.
I know. So we said something. That's what it was.
Lock in. Tell our boy fucking lock in.
Bob, our boy Bob.
I'm not a Bob guy. I fuck with what's this guy?
Matt Kachuk.
Yes, Matt Kachuk. Because I feel like
Okay.
he's a dog. He's got that dog in him.
He does.
Yeah.
Very doggy.
I can't wait for my Sharks to become relevant, bro. I feel like they're just a couple pieces away.
Oh yeah, where are those pieces?
We just need some dogs. What are ever the pieces?
Some skating dogs.
Yeah. DraftKings, by the way, that kind of sports analysis can be paid for. DraftKings, talking about Bet USA, talking about all of them, whichever one. We are available to be sponsored for money. we're going to have even bigger bits if we get funding. I'm talking about multiple chip reviews.
We'll wear all the gear, you know, the hats. Give us hats. We'll wear the hats.
Yeah, of course I'll wear a hat for a betting company on it. Are you kidding? Why wouldn't I do that? Oh, this article. Ryan Reynolds wants Disney to make an R-rated Star Wars project.
Oh, is that gonna be the Starfighter thing he's doing? Is he trying to get them to?
He
Make it
said,
a
I
little
pitched to
saucy?
Disney. I said, why don't we do an R-rated Star Wars property? He shared on Sunday's episode of the Box Office podcast. It doesn't have to be an over A+ characters. There's a wide range of characters you could use. I don't mean R-rated to be vulgar. R-rated is a Trojan horse for emotion.
What?
It's true about emotion. I always wonder why studios don't want to just gamble on something like that. Reynolds, who became the set world's second highest paid actor in 2024 after phenomenal success of the above-mentioned Marvel mashup, this is Wolverine and Deadpool, has increasingly taken on producing and other behind-the-camera positions ever since he boarded 2016's first Deadpool film as producer.
You don't need R-rated for emotion. You know what the most emotion I ever felt? Well, not ever, but I in most recent memory was watching Mighty Ducks. I got really emotional, you know.
Oh,
And
for real?
that was because it's about like a great hockey team performing at the highest level, and that's what I'm watching right now with my Florida Panthers.
Oh, are they up?
Oh no, it's tied still.
Oh.
Oh. It's OT. 16 minutes left in overtime.
This was
Oof.
Oh, I was
Hockey
also going to
is really
say
good.
our boy Brian Level, he's got new commission spots open. His commissions have been looking good. You got anything to promote?
No. Just stay healthy, drink water,
Yeah.
get your steps in. Free Palestine.
Dude, first and foremost, free Palestine. Shout out to our girl Greta Thunberg. By the way, in that same podcast where Dave Portnoy was going off about how, like, don't you know how many Jews are being killed? How many of them have to die before you think Jew jokes aren't funny anymore? He joked about how Greta Thunberg on that flotilla should be hit by a missile. Fuck Dave Portnoy, bro. For real, dude.
Fuck that bitch.
And he's like, oh, it's a joke. But jokes aren't funny, dude.
I watched that. There's that one clip of him when he was super young, where that interviewer was asking him about his jokes, and just that dude, just seeing him so young, like that is the classic chud piece of shit, like 23-year-old fucking. Just seeing that, knowing that what he would grow into, it's like should have stopped it.
Crazy.
Someone
I saw this
should have
video
stopped it.
in LA. Protesters have surrounded a federal detention center in LA. California isn't backing down. This is a full-blown standoff with the feds. Wild.
Was it for it's ICE center?
What's that?
Is it an ICE detention center?
Yeah, I think one of those facilities. They're all got it surrounded. It looks nuts.
Fuck ICE.
Yeah.
Needs to be said.
Well, on that note, it's fuck ICE. It's free Palestine. And everybody, I hope you have a great week. We're going full clip on that clap right there. Hope you guys have a great week. We should be back next week at a regular time because I didn't schedule a movie for that day. I think I'm going to go see that movie Wednesday now. And Adam says thanks for the pod. Thanks, everybody, for standing by and watching. Make sure to hit like. Make sure to hit subscribe to our fucking video. You know what I mean? Shout out to the New Cool Meat podcast family. It's the fastest growing family on YouTube.
Thanks, meatheads.
I feel like we kind of went crazy on this episode, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I kind of
we
feel
touched
like
on subjects.
I sent you on my walk like a little rundown of here's the things I want to talk about, and then we hit it up. It was easy.
Yeah,
That's what
these things are all in my wheelhouse.
What's that?
These things are all in my wheelhouse, wrestling, Bill Simmons,
It's all wrestling.
comics. It's all wrestling.
It's all
So
beef. It's all wrestling.
it's all Oh no, not kayfabe. I won't say that.
You know I hate that word.
Yeah.
But no, it's
all
like
words.
this is ideally if this is the kind of thing that I want to talk about on this show. I want to talk about how these different worlds are all sort of intersecting with one another right now. And there are very few people who can talk about it with authority because there's a lot of people in our world who are just fucking nerds. They don't know about what's really cool, what's really going on out there. They've never done ketamine. They've never had Mark Millar block them and call them a stupid bitch. And we have, so we can speak to these things in ways that like the ink pulp guys, have they ever done ketamine?
You know what?
Maybe.
I think Sean Crystal might have done ketamine. I wouldn't put it.
But have they ever stood 10 toes down and told Mark Millar to go fuck himself? Called
Probably
him a dumb bitch. Called him a fucking pussy. Called
Probably
him
better
a dumb
chance.
fucking.
Probably better chance they've done ketamine.
What?
Probably better chance they've done ketamine.
I think they've probably done ketamine. I don't think. Yeah. They just kind of like they have that podcast where they're just like, so what's your process? So what's it like to be a real killer in this industry? I don't care. I've never been.
Who are your guys?
Who are your guys? Oh, by the way.
Yeah. Shout out.
Throw it up for Mark Maron.
Maron.
He had one of the greatest runs in podcasting history, second only to the New Cool Meat podcast. He interviewed all of our goats: Tarantino, Obama, and that's it.
Louis C.K.
All right, guys. See you next week.
That's it.